And yeah, a little bit about me before I get started. My name is Milind Kopika. I head one of the product lines at Qualtrics. I was one of the early members there. Uh, back about 6 years back when it was just a startup, and got to see some exponential growth in bringing the company from a $40 million business to $700 million plus business, and hopefully, we'll hit the $1 billion mark soon. Um, Prior to that, had spent time starting my own company, Health Connect, that Bill just mentioned, but also before that, have worked at McKinsey, Google, and I was, studied at Stanford, Kellogg for my MBA, and IIT Bombay in India. I also teach. I'm a professor at the University of Utah at the School of Management there, and will be actually expanding to teaching at other universities as well as an adjunct professor. What I do teach is around product management, or more specifically around how to use data science to help you in your product development process. I'm also writing a book. It's called The Art of Product Experience, and hope to have it out by end of the year. I also teach courses online. You can go to mygreatlearning.com, and that's where you'll be able to find other courses on machine learning and AI, and how to apply that for product development. So mygreatlearning.com. Without much ado, let me get started. So, like everything else, let me get started on a quick story. Um, this is a story of actually my two boys. It's a caricature of my two boys. Like every other American kid, over the summer, um, last summer they were selling lemonade in the neighborhood, and I, being someone who teaches product management, and in fact teaches how to use data science for product management, went up to them and told them that, hey guys, look, your dad teaches folks how to get a product to have product market fit. So, what you are selling, this lemonade, if that's your product, you got to do it right. You got to use all these principles of data science to improve what you're selling here, which is lemonade. Which clearly sounded funny, right? Because like they looked up at me thinking, this is another one of those, dad moments where he's trying to, go on some dad wisdom. But of course, I was able to, some privileges of being a dad is, I guess you can get your way. So I told them, guys, look, let's do it right. Let's try to use some data science principles and see how you can better sell your lemonade. Um, like, for example, do you know if selling lemonade is the best idea in the neighborhood? Do you know who is your market segment? Do you know whether, in this case, you're selling it for 25 cents a cup? Is that the right thing? Maybe you need to sell it for more, or maybe less. The point is, you don't know what you don't know. And the best way to do it, to find out what the right way to sell your product is by just getting data and analyzing the data. And that's where we embarked on applying the very same principles that I'm going to talk about today for selling just something like lemonade. But there's a larger point that I'm trying to make here, which is that, look, uh, you know, lemonade is something that everybody can understand, right? And all of us work at different companies, and we all have complex products that we're trying to, build and sell. But the same principles apply, span all products, whether you're in the oil and gas industry, or whether you're in the utilities industry, or in the high tech industry, or the CPG industry. These very same principles apply, and that's the bigger point here. So let's join me on the story of how my kids took something as simple as lemonade and applied these very principles of data science to it. Um, Before we get started on that journey, let me give you some humbling stats. Most products, well, 85% of products, if you look at a Harvard Business Study, they looked at all the products that were launched, and 85% of these products fail. I'm not talking about a lot of people launch products, especially for the product managers in this group here. We all launch products, but how many of them truly, after say a couple of years, are still thriving, right? Many products just languish on because maybe your company is able to still fund it, but most products fail. And there's a reason to that, right? The biggest reason is that our perception, our idea of what the experience is that customers are going to have with the product, what need it's going to meet, is very different than what the market, what the customers think the product is going to do. And there's this big experience gap. We call it the product market fit experience gap, right? There's the experience gap between what we think the product is trying to do, and what the customer's need is that it's trying to meet, and what the market thinks it's trying to do. And because of this gap, most products are failing today. There's a lot of studies around how, if you can do some research, get the data, analyze the data, try to understand this gap between what the product is doing and what the market needs, it can significantly help your bottom line. And we're talking about, even if your company is a public company, uh, time and again, there's research that shows that by, using data science to improve your products, by doing the right research and using that research to tweak your product in the product development process, your stock price can go as much as 219% more than similar companies who don't do it. There's a famous study by McKinsey on this. So that brings us to, what we can do as we are all developing our products. What kind of research can we do? How can we analyze the data? And what kind of decisions can we make around a product development process so that we can improve the products we build and ensure, while of course nobody is a Steve Jobs here, right? Nobody can guarantee $1 billion product. At least we can minimize the risk of product failure. Speaking of minimizing risk, if you look at the product development life cycle, right, everything starts with an idea. You probably have some ideas that you brainstorm with your colleagues, put it on a whiteboard. Maybe if you're an entrepreneur, you meet up with your co-founders at a cafe and just draw some ideas at the back of a napkin. From there, you probably go on to say, all right, who is my potential buyer? Who is my potential user? And then you try to do some concepts and maybe even build a prototype. You try to get feedback, and then you go ahead and then build the product, build an MVP, get that out there, try to iterate on it, further improve the user experience, and eventually, you hope to hit that product market fit. And this is that whole product development life cycle, and all products go through that. And the key is, though, that most of us start getting feedback from the customers after the product is launched, which probably makes sense, right, when you think about it, because, well, the product is launched, now I have customers, I'm going to get feedback, I'm going to keep improving the product. But the reality is, that's often when the battle is lost. When you have launched a product, and that's when you're trying to collect feedback, it's too late. You really need to collect feedback from your customers and get that data and tweak your product well before you launch the product. In fact, even at that point when that idea was just on a napkin, when it's just an idea, those are the times when you should be collecting feedback from your customers. And most of us don't do it. And what this talk is about how you can, well before you launch the product, do this kind of research, use the right techniques to get a pretty good idea of, what is the product that you want to launch, what is the MVP, what are the features, right, that should go into it, what should be the price of that product, and also get an idea of, who you are going to sell it to, and what kind of market share you can expect if you were to launch this product. So So here are a few techniques I'd like to share. We can go deeper into all of these. It'll probably take a much longer session. As I mentioned, if you ever want to learn more about how to apply these techniques, go to mygreatlearning.com, or you can also just email me. I'll share with you my contact details, and happy to go over how you can um, apply these techniques in your at your company, if you're an entrepreneur in your startup, and even in general, just otherwise, if you're if you have kids and are trying to help your kids, let's say, start up a lemonade stand. um, Anyway, so first of all, before you embark on building a product, building a new feature, even if it's a service that you're doing, trying to understand what's the right kind of service package you want to offer. One immediate thing, one free feature that you have at your disposal today, thanks to the internet, thanks to data being so prevalent, is just social data. You can mine that social data. You can, say if you're building a product, which let's say a set of headphones, right? You could go on Amazon, look at hundreds of other headphones, go comb through their reviews, their ratings, and get a pretty good idea of what people are saying. More importantly, you can get an idea of what kind of features within that product, in this case within headphones, are people loving about it, and at the same time, what are the things that they don't like, right? And that helps to get an idea of the gaps in what's out there today in the market. You can also start using text analysis tools, like the one I'm showing here is an image of what you can do with Qualtrics if you have that kind of software. By the way, feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in using Qualtrics to help you collect similar data. I'm happy to help you there. Um, and you can, for example, this figure on the right tells you that, all right, here are the topics that people are talking about when with existing products, but more importantly, the ones that people have a negative sentiment that they don't like, and the ones that they have a positive sentiment that they do like, right? So what that tells you is that, well, let's say, for example, customer service, right? Here is a big place where people are not happy with what's available today in the market. Billing, people are not happy with what's there today in the market. Well, that's an opportunity for you, right? If you are trying to build something, at the very least, you can start getting data on what's available today. But more importantly, what are the gaps in what people are saying about our products today? Again, happy to go into the details of how you could apply. Essentially, what we've done is, applied NLP, natural language processing, to analyze these reviews, analyze the text, and find out what people are saying, but more importantly, find out, where are the gaps, where is the most negative sentiment from people, and you want to go after the gaps where people have the most, a lot of people are talking about it, which is, in this case, the bigger circles, and a lot of people are talking bad things about it, right? So those are the gaps where if you address, you might be able to capture a large market share. Again, happy to go into details of it. In the interest of time, let me move on to other techniques that I apply. Let me spend a bulk of my time on a technique what we call as hierarchical base modeling. And this is what we applied, we as in my boys applied, as they were building out the lemonade drink. In the industry, it's also called conjoint analysis. It's a very popular technique that you can use to understand what your end customers, your consumers would prefer, right? Now, in this case, for example, the kids were making something as simple as a lemonade drink, right? But if you think about it, even within the lemonade drink, there are a lot of things that go into it. For example, should it be a 5-ounce cup? Should it be an 8-ounce cup of lemonade drink? Should it be a 12-ounce cup? Now, most of you might say, well, that sounds pretty obvious, right? Who wouldn't want to drink from a 12-ounce cup? Well, let me show you the results of our study to show you what happened here. The other things that you can do is you can ask them, well, do you want just a lemonade, just a lemon drink? Or maybe you want some other flavor. Maybe you want strawberry based drink, or maybe you want mango drink, right? Or even the base of the drink, should it be water based, or maybe you want milk based, like strawberry and milk, like a milkshake, right? So there are so many permutations and combinations, even in something as simple as a lemonade drink, as a product as simple as that, that you want to know what is that optimal combination, that optimal combination of these features, right? In this case, the flavor of the drink, the size of the cup, the kind of base, whether it's water or milk that you use, all these are features that go into this product. And you can imagine a similar, whatever product you guys are building in your respective companies, they have 100 more such features, right? And you want to know, how do you find an optimal combination of features that that will appeal to your consumer base? Now, like everything else, every consumer is different. Somebody might prefer a lemon drink, somebody might prefer a strawberry drink, right? But what you want to do is identify your target customer, where your goal is to maximize your revenue. So you want to identify your target customers who will buy most, who will be the most likely to buy, who will be the most likely to pay the most, and who are going to be a large number, so that you can sell a lot of your product, right? At the end of the day, in other words, what you're trying to do is find out that optimal combination of features that can maximize your revenue and your profits for you, right? Maximize revenue and profits. And that's where conjoint analysis helps. We have others methods. For those of you who are familiar with data science, machine learning techniques, there are regression analysis that you could use, right? Linear regression, log regression, and so on. The problem with those methods is that it tells you that here's a model. It just gives you a model saying, all right, you know, uh, the optimal, let's say, drink is so much weightage to lemon flavor, so much weightage to say water, and so much weightage to the size of the cup. But the problem is that you don't understand. It doesn't tell you um, who is your target audience that will buy that drink. B, how much are they willing to pay for that? And C, what are your options? Let's say if you were to, instead of lemon, put strawberry instead, how would that change your market share? How would that change people's willingness to pay for that drink? These are important questions that you as a product manager need to understand. And that's where what I found in my experience is that conjoint analysis has proven to be the most effective way to do that. Um, so here, let me walk you through this journey of what my kids did. So first of all, what they did was they put together a quick questionnaire. In this case, again, they use Qualtrics, right? And you'll notice that they ask people different questions. Now, here's the other interesting thing. If you just ask someone, all right, here are 100 possible combinations. You can either have a drink with lemon flavor along with 5-ounce cup along with water, or you can have a drink which has strawberry flavor along with an 8-ounce cup along with milk, or right. So there are in this particular case 81 possible combinations. Imagine asking someone, which of these 81 possible combinations would you like to have? And also, by the way, rank them, right? Nobody will be able to do it, right? Nobody in the in their right mind will be able to parse through 81 possible combinations and tell you, look, here's the best combination that I think, here's the second best, and so on. We are not able to process information like that. However, where humans are good at processing information is in making choices. You see, we always make choices, right? Like even right now for this webinar, you made a choice that, I could have gone and done something else, or I could have joined this webinar, right? We are always good at making choices between typically 2 or 3 possible choices that are shown to us. And that's where the power of conjoint comes in. You will notice here, let me just turn this quick video on. You will notice that in this survey, we asked them different choices. And hold on, it's just going to get past this one basic question where you ask them who these people are. And then you notice, here's the first choice. It asks you that, all right, look, which choice do you want? Do you prefer option 1, which is a drink with lemon, coconut milk, 12-ounce cup, and which is being sold for $1? Or do you prefer this option 2, which is something which has mango flavor, has another base drink, which is milk. It's in an 8-ounce cup and $1.50. Now, based on what people prefer, now in this case, this is the example of somebody who leans towards having a drink which is mango flavored. And I think this person is lactose intolerant, so might prefer something which is coconut milk. So see how they go about answering these options, right? So in this particular case, this person prefers clearly option two. Now we randomly show them some other option. Again, remember, we're always showing them two possible choices each time. In this particular case, they select option one, right? Now we show them another option. And you notice that they are always leaning towards an option which has certain features in them, which unconsciously, they are leaning towards those features, right? So that helps. And this is where the machine learning piece comes in. What is happening behind the scenes is when somebody's making choices all the time, the machine is learning what are the features within that choice, right? What are the features within that choice that people seem to be leaning towards? Like in this particular case, I can play the video again if you want. This particular case, this person is leaning towards something that has the mango flavor in it, and that has, I think, either milk or coconut milk compared to water, right? In fact, there was a choice there where that was of a higher cost, and yet they preferred that choice. What the machine learns through these by showing these random choices to different people is what kind of features do people really care about, right? Sometimes even if it's at a higher price. So this is what we mean by conjoint analysis. The next screen, actually, hold on a second. If you go to the next screen, this one. So now what happens is, and we ask this to about, typically we require about 300 people to get enough data so that the data is statistically significant, to be able to quickly come up with a thesis around what is that optimal set of features that most appeal to the maximum number of people, so that we'll be able to make a profit. We'll also be able to maximize our revenue. What I'm going to show you now is the results that came in from that questionnaire that we sent out, right? What we'll do is, again, this is using Qualtrics as a tool. You can, of course, use other tools as well to look at the results of these conjoint analysis. You can, in fact, also model this using R or Python if you're familiar with those tools. But what I want to show you here is when the results come in, you can now compare and contrast. Because the machine has learned which attributes, which features within a product are more important to people over others, you can now play around. So for example, here you will see that if I try to change on the right-hand side, instead of the lemon flavor, if I say mango flavor, you'll notice that the willingness to pay is much more. So people are willing to pay much more if it's a different flavor over lemon flavors, which is very interesting, right? Most kids was selling lemonade on the block. Little did they realize that actually there was, people were willing to pay a premium for a different flavor. In this case, people are willing to pay a premium for, like an 8-ounce cup or a 12-ounce cup. In fact, you'll notice here that people are willing to pay slightly more for an 8-ounce cup over a 12-ounce cup. Now, these are relative numbers, by the way, so don't go by the exact number here. But what it's telling you is it gives you a good idea of which features are more important than others. The other thing you also notice here is that you get to, within a given attribute, like say within flavor, you get to see which features, how does one compare to the other. So for example, you're able to see that, all right, people are willing to pay more for a mango flavor versus a strawberry flavor versus a lemon flavor. So you can kind of start stack ranking different features that you want to build, right? So imagine now trying to use this for your own product, where you have certain features. You're always trying to decide, should I do feature A versus feature B? Well, now using conjoint analysis, you can help answer that question. Um, in fact, what you can also do now is find that optimal set. right? So for example, here, you can know right away that, look, given the population that I reached out to, right? And assuming this is my sample representative population of my customers once I get this product out, the best thing I can do, right? The optimal thing for me to do is have a drink which has mango flavor, a coconut milk based drink. It's sold in an 8-ounce cup and it's sold for $1, right? Now, this is very insightful. It's a very powerful insight here. Um, and in fact, later on, I'll also show you the impact that this had when the boys actually took this drink and sold it in the neighborhood. Something else I want to talk to you about is you can also understand what's going to be your market share. Now, this is something very important. Now, often, let's say if you're a product manager, the question often comes, all right, fine. So you're telling me that this is my MVP. This is the optimal set of features that if I were to take it out to market, people would be willing to pay a lot of money. And most people will be willing to buy it, right? Great. But then will I really be able to get any share of the market? And that's where, something like this, it's conjoint analysis again helps you. What you can do is you can get a sense for, let's say there is a lemonade drink out there today in this example, right? So in your example, you might have a competitor product already out there, and you want to know, if I get my product out, how much of the market share can I win from my competitors, right? And that's where what conjoint analysis does is it shows you a choice which your competitors have today, right? And then it contrasts that with a choice of features that you want to build, and it helps you understand how many more people would lean towards the set of features that you want to build, the product that you want to bring out to market, compared to the choice that's out there today. Let's take a look at this example. What you'll see here is, on the left you have the regular choice, a lemonade drink. On the right, if you now try to vary the features, like let's say you put milk instead of water, you will notice how many more people are willing to go with your product versus what's out there today. You can try and play around with different features on the right. Like if you had a 12-ounce cup, how would that affect your, now in this case, notice if it's a 12-ounce cup and if the price is the same, everyone would prefer a larger drink than a smaller drink, right? So it helps you play around with with different features and simulate them to say, all right, if on the left is what is out there today, what the competitors have today, and if I were to vary different features, how would that affect my market share, right? And that's a very powerful concept. And that helps you get a pretty good sense for how would people's preferences change if you were to uh, tweak the product or innovate on the product that you're bringing out to the market. Um, Again, happy to talk to you more about this, but again, back in the interest of time, just moving along. Now, one final thing that I want to bring up is, all right, so you go back to your boss and say, all right, this is the MVP. This is where people will be willing to pay the most. And by the way, here's the price that I think we should sell it at, because that's when we'll be able to maximize our revenue. I can also tell you with a good sense of, relatively how much market share we could expect if we were to bring this product out in the market. Great. But then there's one final question, and your boss tells you, all right, great. Now we're going to take this product out to market, right? And when you take something out to market, you can't sell everything to everyone. You got to understand your market segment. Whom are you going to be targeting? Whom are you going to go after? Be it through, Google ads, Facebook ads. You need to understand your target segment that you're going to go after, right? How do you do that? So that's where cluster analysis comes into the picture. What in this case, this is an example, a simulation that I'm showing of k-means clustering. It's basically saying that, look, how do I find my target segment? So what you do is you say, all right, that drink in this example, where people were leaning towards mango based drink with coconut milk in an 8-ounce cup. How many people are closest to a cluster around that kind of drink, and who are these people, right? Who are these people who are clustering most towards that specific kind of drink? Um, this is getting into the details of how we do k-means clustering, where we try to find the Euclidean distance between people from the mean, of what a typical person who wants that particular drink is going to look like. Happy to again go into the details of that. If anyone is interested, you can contact me offline. I'll send you my email contact. But using clustering analysis, what we can do is we can apply clustering analysis to the same conjoint study that we did, and also get a sense for who are these target people who are most likely to buy this optimal drink, right? Um, it's very insightful. Let me show you this video real quick. So here, what you can do is you can go to look at the clusters, and what you'll notice here is that it helps you find out who are these target people. Now, if you notice, in that survey, that questionnaire that the boys sent out, they had also asked questions around, what is your average age, and are you male or female, and then how likely are you to buy, how often do you buy a drink, how often do you go out, what time do you buy a drink, right? And we ask these questions, and then we use clustering analysis to say, all right, what is that cluster? What is that segment of people who are most likely to lean towards that optimal drink? Now, funnily enough, what you'll see here is it's the results are saying that, look, the most likely group that's going to go after that, that's going to buy that drink is going to be people who are 51 years and above, who are female, and who typically buy drinks in the afternoon. Well, afternoon I can understand, but people who are 51 and above, that sounds weird, right? Because typically you would think that people who buy lemonade drinks are kids, right? So what is this person here? Why is the machine saying that these are the people most likely to buy the drink? Well, it turns out that in this particular case, and that's the power of machine learning. What machine learning does is it helps you find out, helps you spot things which are not obvious to the human eye, right? Now, in this particular case, it turns out that the people who are most likely to go out and buy these drinks were, grandparents, especially grandmas, right? So they would take their grandkids on a Saturday, summer afternoon, and be more than willing, and often spend more than, say, the parents in buying drinks for their grandkids, right? And this is very important, by the way. So if you are a marketeer trying to sell a lemonade drink, like in this case, my kids had an advantage over other kids in the neighborhood, because now they could sell their drinks to houses where there were grandmas or grandparents out there, because they were the most likely to buy something for their grandkids, right? They also knew that afternoons were the best time to go and sell their drinks, which is of course pretty intuitive as well. That's when it's the hottest. But the point here is that you were able to use data science and machine learning to automatically detect these segments of customers who you would have otherwise not noticed, right? Which were not obvious, not intuitive. Um, so, we covered a few techniques. We covered how before you start on building a product, you first want to try to get the data that's available out there on the internet for free. If you can, run natural language processing on it. Again, happy to talk more about it in a future session on how you can apply that to find out where the gaps are. We talked about a technique called hierarchical based modeling. In the industry, it's also popularly known as conjoint analysis, to understand what's that optimal set of features within a product. What should be your MVP that maximum number of people are willing to buy, that you can also understand how much they are willing to pay for that product, right? Nobody wants to buy a product, wants to build a product if nobody's going to pay for it. So understanding how many people are going to pay, how much they are going to willing to pay, and how much market share you can expect to get if you were to build these features, this MVP, and take it out to market. And lastly, we also studied clustering analysis, on how you can use, in this example, we use k-means clustering, but there are other ways to cluster segments of people, but how you can find out your target market segment that you should ask your marketing team, your digital advertising team to go after once you do build this product, right? Um, just to give you a quick coming back a full circle to my kids, they did really well. They built this drink which was a mango coconut. They call it a mango coconut shake. In fact, they did so well that they got invited. You see a picture of them at the farmers market. They got invited to the local farmers market to sell their drink. It was that popular. In fact, you see, if you notice closely, there's a sold out sign next to that mango coconut shake. It was that popular. Point being that in their world, it was a product market fit. And the larger point here is that if two kids can, for something like as simple as lemonade, can apply data science techniques, can apply these product research techniques, and get their product to a product market fit, then surely every single one of us, right, no matter how complex a product is, no matter which industry you work in, we all can apply these same basic techniques and try to understand our market, try to understand the right MVP for the product, do this kind of upfront research well before we launch the product, and we can all, while again, and nothing is guaranteed, we can all minimize the risk of product failure, and we can all hopefully achieve that elusive product market fit. Yep. So I hope I can leave you with that one last thought, that we all need to do more, apply more data science to our product development process. Um, and with that, I would like to conclude my talk. If you ever want to learn more, I know that I skimmed through the surface here, but the idea was to give you an overview of all the things you can do as you start building great products, all the things you should do actually as you start building great products. If you want to follow up, my email is milinkopy@gmail.com. That's my first name and the first four letters of my last name, milinkopy@gmail.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well, and happy to help in any way I can. And if you want to learn more about techniques, both machine learning techniques that can be applied to product development, you can go to my website, mygreatlearning.com. And again, if you are interested in taking any of these courses, feel free to reach out to me. Or if you need any help in building your own products at your company, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. With that, let me conclude my talk. I think there are a few questions. Let me see if I can take on any questions here. Any questions so far?
Actually, they are in the chat window. Did you can you see it in the chat window? Actually, they have one question coming up.
Yep. There's a chat. There's a question here. How do you take the relative estimates of market share from the conjoint analysis and translate those into absolute estimates of conversion? In other words, what % of customers that are exposed to the opportunity are expected to convert? That's a great question, right? So what you saw here was a simulation, right? We showed different choices to customers, and we tried to see where do people lean towards more. The question is, well, I get that, so that's relative, but then how do you translate that to actual market share? To absolute conversion? And you're right, it's there's a little bit of art here, right? Nobody has a crystal ball on exactly what's the market share you're going to get. Are you going to get a 23.52% market share? It's hard to get to that level of granularity. What you can do, however, is, if you recall at the very beginning, at the very beginning, you are able to do some look at social data, right? Social media data, to understand what are the products out there. You can also get a sense for what are the features that the products have today. Followed by, we talked about how you can essentially find the preference share for your product relative, right? It's all about relative here, relative to other products out there. So what you can do is take the product that is out there today, look at the features that is out there today, and in your conjoint analysis, ask people to choose between features that are out there today and this new product with the features that you're planning on building, right? And like a good example, let's say Tesla wants to come out with a new car, right? Well, there are a lot of cars out there today, right? So if I were to ask people, all right, do you prefer a sedan versus a truck, right? And within that, one with leather seats versus regular seats, and with four-wheel drive versus a no wheel, just a two-wheel drive. And there are various combinations here, right? It can be a truck with a two-wheel drive with leather seats, or it can be a sedan with a regular seats and a four-wheel drive. There are so many possible combinations. But the key is by asking people to make choices between combinations that are there today and the ones that you are thinking of building, you'll quickly get a sense for the relative share between what's out there today and what you want to build. And that is important because back to the Tesla example, I can find out today what's the share of a sedan by GM, which has leather seats, right? Or I guess there's enough data out there that I can use that to estimate that. And then if I find out, compared to that, using conjoint analysis, what's going to be the relative share if I instead had a truck, like let's just Tesla Cybertruck with leather seats and a four-wheel drive, as you saw in this example, right? I can simulate like in this example, instead of lemon, I can say, well, if it was another flavor, how would that affect my market share? You could do that kind of studies, and you can do that thanks to this power of conjoint analysis. So it's pretty powerful that way. Does that answer your question? All right. Hopefully yep. But that was a good question, and thanks for asking that. It highlights the power of, and this is the kind of analysis you can't do using plain regression. So I use regression analysis. It does have its benefits, but using these kinds of choice modeling techniques really helps you get to that level of understanding market share, understanding willingness to pay, and so on. Can you also derive a demand curve for the product at different price points? Yeah, great question, right? So, in this case, we were able to understand that, look, if, do I have a slide on that one? We were able to understand if people wanted, if what would be the preference share if it was a $1, if you were to sell it for $1 versus if you were to sell it for 50 cents, right? Versus $1.50 in this case of lemonade. You can do the similar analysis um, for your product. So absolutely, and you can plot a demand curve. So you can plot or rather, let me be more specific. You can plot a relative demand curve. So what you can find out is, in this example, I'll be able to find out if I were to sell my drink for 50 cents on one side versus say $1 on the other side, what would that do to my demand? Now, very likely, if it's this, obviously everybody would prefer a 50-cent drink, everything else being the same, to a $1 drink, right? However, that's the key, which is everything else being the same. But if I say, well, but here's the thing, how would my demand change if it was a mango-based drink for $2 versus a regular lemonade drink for just 50 cents? What you will notice is there is still a demand for the lemonade drink with 50, because everybody wants, price is a big factor, right? But you will be able to start plotting how much demand you'll be able to get for that mango-based drink if it was $2. If it was just $1, you'll see the demand go up. If it was just 50 cents, I think 100% of the people would say, I prefer the mango drink versus the lemonade drink. So yes, you can derive a demand curve, but it will be relative to a choice. Yeah. Great. Any other questions? as I said, sometimes it's hard to think of all the possible questions immediately. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You have my contact, or reach out to Bill, and Bill can also connect me with you. Yeah. We'll also have a follow up. We'll probably send a follow up survey to get your feedback on what else you would like to hear. We would like to conduct more of these webinars and also courses to help you truly apply these techniques, not from an academic point of view, but my goal is to help you apply these machine learning techniques, in your day to day life. To apply, to be more of a practitioner than a theorist. So we would love to get feedback. We'll follow it up with a survey on what else you would like us to, what other kind of courses or webinars you would like from us.
Hi, Milan. I think there's a question in the Q&A sessions. I'm not sure if you answered yet. Did you see the Q&A?
The Q&A session. This is still. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there you go. Sorry, I did not see the Q&A session. Okay, there's a question here. Hello, I noticed that the willingness to pay increases by about $15 when you pick mango as opposed to lemon. Does that mean the product would sell for $15? That's a good question. So this is actually a little bit of this was a problem with the way I had created the study. The answer is, so it's a good question. So the question was that, look, when you did that simulation, it was showing that people are willing to pay $15 for that mango based drink versus, whatever, the $1 for the lemonade based drink. Is that right? That doesn't sound right. And that's spot on. That is not right. The way to look at that is, it's relative to a drink. How much more do I value something else? I value it about 15 times more, but it's very different than how much I'm willing to pay for the drink. So that was more of an error in the way what I want to tell you. What I want to tell you is that they value it about 15x more, but when I value something, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm willing to pay 15 times more, right? I will still pay something based on whatever is the market rate. So that's a good catch. That was more of an error in the way I showed the data. The way I interpret the data is that the mango-based drink was that much more valuable. How does that translate to price? It's very different. As you saw later on, the optimal price was $1 for that drink. And I know that that's the case because we did, in my analysis, I showed them different combinations of drinks and also different combinations of prices. I showed them an option where it was $2, $3, and nobody went for anything more than $2, right? So you started seeing that there is an upper bound on how much people are willing to